Good morning. My name is LeKeisha Grant, and this morning we are going to talk about pivot marketing. So, I am a business advisor with the Small Business Development Center at the Entrepreneur Center, along with Kim Woodbury, our director, Cindy Green, our program manager, consultant, Adrian Hurd, and advisor Mark Langford. You can reach us at 937-281-0118, and we provide free confidential one-on-one business counseling and consulting, as well as workshops and webinars. So, let's jump right in. So what is a pivot and why pivot? So what's a pivot? And right now, pivot is kind of the self-care of 2020. 2019, all we talked about and all you heard was self-care. It very much so became a buzzword. The same is getting ready to happen for pivot if you don't feel like it has already happened. In this conversation, we're going to talk about pivoting in two different ways. So one way that you will see or hear people discuss pivoting is people who have completely somewhat, I hate to use the word abandoned, but moved away from what their original business operations were, and they have moved into a space that is more so beneficial in the current time that we're in. One of the industries that you see doing this a lot are alcohol industries. They're not completely moving away from their product of producing as a distillery, but they have the items necessary for them to produce things such as hand sanitizer, cleansing products. So they're doing that because right now that is honestly a needed product, is very much so kind of not here at all. um, and it's something that they're able to kind of capitalize in and keep money rolling in. Not saying the alcohol sales are down. According to an article I read over the weekend, we sold the week that the stay-at-home order went out, there were over 400,000, I think, gallons or bottles, can't remember which one it was, of alcohol sold in the state of Ohio alone. So they're not necessarily hurting, but just find a way to stay relevant is what they were doing. Another conversation around pivot is how can you do things differently in your own business without changing the product or service in order for you to remain relevant and for you to continue to generate revenue. And then the why, I've kind of already addressed that, but it's really for you to stay relevant and for you to stay in business. So we're going to talk heavily about the relevancy today. And these are, again, reasons why: visibility, engagement, educate, and revenue. These are the four topics that we're going to really dig in on today throughout this webinar, in particular around marketing your pivot. So visibility, the biggest thing and point around visibility from a pivot marketing standpoint is thinking about the long run. Even if your business is not able to heavily continue to produce in the way that it was, but if you're trying to sustain the business and not completely close, you do want to think of what the true definition of marketing is. The true definition of marketing is for someone to remember you when they're ready to buy. A lot of times we think of marketing just as selling something, the advertisement, come buy, the call to action. While in reality, the point of marketing is for someone to remember you when they get ready to buy. When they get ready to buy a shirt, you want them to think of your business. When a person gets ready to eat, you want them to think of your restaurant. When a person needs whatever your service is, you want to have marketed so that whenever they think of that thing, they think of you in the forefront of their mind. So that's one of the biggest reasons of finding a way to stay out there from a visibility standpoint. Also, what kind of adjustments can you make from a visibility standpoint? And content creation. All small businesses need content for the most part. The ones that somewhat shy away from the need for a lot of content are B2B businesses in reality. But B2C businesses need content. People need to see who you are, what you do, understand it, see that you're still around, see that you're still moving, and see what you're doing. So that's a part of that visibility aspect, staying in front of the customer. In terms of adjustments, letting them know how you're adjusting. One thing about this is the perfect time to become human to your customer base. It's the best way and the best time to become relatable to your customer base, because we're all in very uncharted territories at this time, and we're all going through something very similar. Regardless of how you have been affected versus how I've been affected, all of us have been affected in one way or the other. So showing those people how your customers, your client base, how you are adjusting is important because it makes you human, it makes your business real, and it makes you relatable. Again, you're at this point from a visibility conversation, you're trying to make sure that when they get ready to buy, when they can afford to buy, that you're the person who they're remembering from how you've put yourself out there. That goes right into engagement. How are you engaging with your customers during this point in time? Are you sending out emails? Now, please do not be the person who sends out an email every day talking about absolutely nothing. I've unfollowed personally probably 5 to 10 different businesses in the course of the last 3 weeks because they are marketing to the point of almost insensitivity, because they're not promoting ways for me to get through the process. They're not promoting ways for me to better myself through the process. They're not promoting ways for me to cope. They're just like, they're selling the same way they were, and honestly more aggressively than they were before all of this happened, just because they know people are at home and are probably looking at their phones. Don't be that person. Don't be that person. If you're going to be in contact to check in on people. It's not with the intention of necessarily expecting them to respond to you, but just letting them know that you're here, giving a tip or two. Is there anything, how does your business currently relate to things that are needed and necessary in this time? How does your product currently relate to things that are needed and necessary in this time? I can guarantee you, whether you believe it or not, every single product that is put out there has a need in this time. It's just a matter of you understanding and developing that message to push out to your customer base. And it might be in this moment, it might not be come buy something. It might be educating them. I'm going into my next thing on how to use your product better, how to use your product in this time, because if they begin to use your product, eventually they will need more of it, correct? So, and it's a way to build your audience. One of the things, I know this isn't necessarily how we want to look at it, is like we have more time to do these things, but one of the things that for many of us, especially those who are smaller operations, that has hindered us over time is just being a small show or one woman, one man show. There's not a lot of time available to do the engagement piece. There's not a lot of time to do the interaction piece. Sometimes it gets to be just putting content out and not really being able to do the exchange. This is a great time to participate in that. Again, it provides that human perception. And then educating people on who you are, what you do, and what your products are. The best thing, excuse me, about this is a great time to make your customer a more ideal customer for you by providing this level of education for them. Because so frequently, and I'll use myself as an example, when it comes to graphic designers, I am not the dream client because I'm not visually inclined. So because I'm not visually inclined, I don't give a lot of direction. So I'm probably the opposite of a dream client to a graphic artist. But this is a great time for a person in that industry to put out information to make me better at that. Putting out things of, tips around what you need to know when you're seeking this type of person, putting out things around even how you work behind the scenes and how you put things together, so that as I'm looking for my next project and working on my next project, I'm keeping in mind the things that I know that you look for or that you put together when you're putting together graphics in the arena that I'm working in. And then why do I still need you? For those who are in business, why? Especially whether you're B2B or B2C, why do I need your products? Remind me of that. Because the reality is, while this is very much so affecting everyone is not completely out of work. There are still people who are going to work every day and who, from a financial standpoint, have not been significantly affected yet. So dig into that. Don't go into the place of everybody's out of work and no one has money. That's not the truth. This is another place where you have to look at, are you marketing to the proper customer? And has your customer changed in this? Because that's another potential pivot. The customer base that you previously discussed or talked to may have changed somewhat, or it may have somewhat shrunk. That doesn't mean that you can't capture more. You just have to reevaluate who that customer is in that time. And then always, as always, acknowledging what problem does your product solve, and how do you educate, again, your customer on how you're solving that product. What is the benefit of me supporting your business at any point in time? Honestly, this is an important piece to have in your marketing. What is the benefit to me of supporting? Because we know the benefit to you as a business owner. The benefit to you is you make money, you stay in business. But what is the benefit to me as a consumer? And have you been properly conveying that information? And then last, but definitely not least, is the revenue conversation. How can you transition to either maintain, sustain, or create new revenue in this during this time? So there's a couple realities around the revenue portion. There are some people who, by the nature of the business, I'll use the hairstylist or the cosmetology industry. They're going to have to create, people in that industry are going to have to create completely new things to push out there to create a stream of income in this time, because they just simply cannot do the work the way they've been doing it. One, if they're caught outside of the salon environment doing it, they can lose their license. On top of the fact, from a health standpoint, they're putting both themselves and the people whose hair they're doing in their house or someone else's house, they're putting those people in danger every day by attempting to still do that type of work. So what can you do? What can you educate? What can you teach? What can you put out there that's going to be beneficial right now? Products are great. Also, this is the great time for that industry to begin getting into tutorials, teaching people how to do their own hair, how to maintain their own hair. Again, making your client a better customer to you. You don't want who really would want their client in any industry to come back and they've destroyed all the good work that has been done leading up to March 1st? Nobody. Nobody wants their client to come in and have destroyed all the work they've done in that time. So what can you put out there that's going to keep your client intact, as whole as possible during this time period? Those are the kind of things that you think of. Industry that I've seen do really well with pivoting from a revenue standpoint is fitness. A lot of trainers, a lot of class instructors have immediately transitioned and went into Zoom, and they're training virtually. They're training via Zoom. They're training via email. They're training via app. They have shifted really, really well. I was trying to think of another industry that was doing a good job. One that I'm not seeing make the shift really well is honestly some of those, not necessarily the restaurant industry, but the food industry from a perspective of kind of caterers and private chefs. There's a lot of opportunity right now in that industry because people are forced to cook at home. They're forced to cook at home. So I just posted about it on my social media the other day. I don't understand why I'm not seeing cookbooks. I don't understand why I'm not seeing cooking classes. Why are you not giving people the tools to do better at their house? Because the reality is, no matter how well I can cook, and I can cook, I still like to go out to eat every now and again. Most people do. You just don't want to do it. It's not that you can't, you just aren't in the mood to do it. You want something quick, or you just want somebody else to pamper you, or whatever the case may be. So then there's offset or supplemental income. So the other reality is everyone's not going to be able to fully replace their income from what they may do. Again, going back to the example of the cosmetology field or the beauty field. But being able to even offset any of those missing expenses is beyond important. So even if you can offset just being able to put something out there that brings in enough revenue to pay a credit card bill or this loan payment, that's better than just kind of letting everything sit. Because yes, everybody's talking about deferments and forbearances and things like that, but the reality is these debts will still be there. These expenses are still being there. They're just being pushed back. So at some point in time, they have to be paid. So unless it's being forgiven. So it's more so about figuring out what things you can do from a maintenance standpoint in the meantime, in between time, to have as less of that as possible as you're moving forward. So I know I ran through that relatively quickly. That's because I really wanted to open this up to be able to have conversation around some things that we can do in some of your potential in some of your businesses, to help with the pivot. I really wanted to have an open discussion around that, because trying to fit this to individual industry and make it broad was, a feat in itself. So if anybody would like to ask any questions or have that conversation around their business, please drop something in the chat so I can see you and we can open up that conversation. Or if you have any questions around the content as well, obviously. No questions? Ron, I see you shaking your head.
Yeah, I can put this in the chat box, but it's kind of long. I mean, I've got some content that I've produced for other people. It's just a matter of getting to those other people, and my networking is limited to Zoom right now for 8-7 and for BNI. So, uh, I'm putting the stuff out on my Facebook and on my LinkedIn, trying to get people interested. I just think what you said about staying connected, being staying part of the conversation is very important. I'm just trying to get folks to everybody else to realize that too.
I understand that. And then, it doesn't help. What I'm getting ready to say is not getting ready to sound helpful. So understand that I'm not saying it from a negative standpoint. Is I know that it doesn't seem like it's been a short period of time, but a lot of us are making these adjustments and it's only been 2 weeks. So to some extent, it is a new normal. So we do have to allow some time for these things. It's more about staying consistent and staying with it and sticking with it. Um, that doesn't help from a financial standpoint, and that's why I said that some of what I said is not going to appear helpful at all. So I'm not ignorant to that part. It's just, from a reality standpoint, like we have to understand, like these adjustments are happen so rapidly, and we're trying to adjust so rapidly that I mean, honestly, we don't have the time to really, or we haven't had the time to allow some of these things to happen.
I
And
agree.
then it's also some of the things of even somewhat, because you said you do videos. So I would also challenge you, Ron, to even look at possibly getting on LinkedIn. I don't know if you're on LinkedIn, because
Mm-hmm.
some of the platforms that we're using might have to shift. Like for me, I'll be honest, without doing paid ads, I don't do a lot of seeking of new on Facebook, because I feel like everybody's there. But based on, I hate that we always talk about the algorithm, but based on the algorithm, I also um, think that it's very difficult to see new people on Facebook, while some of the
Yeah,
other platforms give you a little more grace, at least right now, give you a little bit more grace of being able to stretch, via hashtags and sharing, and just where the placement in your timeline, period.
I agree. I've been on LinkedIn. I've been on LinkedIn a lot, and for some people, like you said, it's 2 weeks. This is my fourth week.
Yeah,
So, we'll see.
yeah, I understand. I understand. And so it's just, making that shift. I would say because of the length of time it's been for you, I would really get into those analytics and see what has been working and what possibly has not been. Um, uh, Mark said you've been doing a good job sharing info such as Zoom etiquette. Okay. That's major. Um, that's even something that I would even consider possibly shooting some emails to some B2B clients about that. Because I can tell you from the fact that we've been doing these for about three. I don't know if this is our third or fourth week of doing the webinars, but I can tell you that Zoom etiquette is needed. um, um, so that might be something that you can host for an organization. Um, for their employees, because they by now I can tell you they're probably tired of it. Our gift card sales, yes, gift card sales are a great alternative right now. There actually was this past Saturday. I don't know if someone made it. I don't think it came from American Express, from the shop small at American Express, but I actually saw um, this weekend that a lot of people were promoting Small Business Saturday as Gift Card Saturday this past Saturday. Um, just for being able to hold on to things for an extended period of time. At least it's bringing in some revenue. That'll be a little iffy um, as we roll back out in terms of how that translate of tons of people coming in and buying with gift cards. Obviously, hopefully they'll buy what they have on a gift card and a little bit more would be the hope. But yes, gift cards, gift certificates. Um, Great, great, great alternatives at this right now. Are there any restrictions on delivery people right now? Not yet. Not yet. I don't. I would have to say I think the only potential concern are things with signatures. But I know basic deliveries, such as things that don't have to be signed for, have not slowed down at this point in time. And then what can you do to go digital? What can you do to present something virtually? Um, I know I just put out I just changed one of my printed products. I won't even say I changed. I added a virtual or a downloadable version to a product of mine that's normally printed. Um, is there something that you can teach someone about your business? Can you turn educational? Can you transition from maybe providing a service to now teaching people how to do a service? I know one of the things that I have personally looked at significantly as I'm seeing different emails and things come out are coding classes. Some people are transitioning doing coding classes for free. Is that something that you can, not necessarily coding specifically, but is that something, um, there's a photography. I've seen that there's a couple different schools who are doing free photography classes, especially geared around product photography. What else have I seen? I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think. Um, a couple of how-tos. I've seen a lot of how-to kind of ebooks and webinars. I know there's a couple fashion stylists that I follow and am friends with, and they're putting out things around that. Um, there's a lot of things going out about self-care, mental health, how to maintain during this time, anxiety levels, different things of that nature. Does anyone else want to kind of share or have any questions around their particular industry, what options might be out there for them? Thank you, Ron, for that. I appreciate that. No questions? Or am I just being impatient and you all are writing in the chat box? Okay, so it does. I'm not seeing any questions come up. So, should retail be looking at expanded hours? No. I would not suggest that for retail. For retail, what I would suggest is doing everything possible to shift more online, shift more online, and focus more heavily on shipping and keeping people out of the physical space. But in still being able again to stay in front of the customer. Like I said, everyone has not yet been financially affected, and those who have not are very, very conscious of trying to still put money out where they can. I've talked to a few people who say went to the hair salon every 2 weeks. They're still paying their hairstylist. um, I know some people who have just been purchasing, that have the money, so they're purchasing so that other people can, so that I forget what business it was I saw locally, but someone had purchased, we'll say, oh, it was over the weekend. A friend of mine was selling food. A friend of mine, one of my catering friends, was selling dinners, and someone came in and just bought a bulk portion of dinners so that she could just give them away. um, People are doing that because that helps from a marketing perspective. If somebody comes in and gives you, I don't know, generically speaking, $100, and that means you could give out five. That's worth five of the products on your shelf. That's having some type of contest for you to give away that product is great. You've been paid for it, and now you're able to give these five away to people who've never been able to experience your product before. So there's a huge opportunity there for you to gain in the long run. um, or even if you discount it significantly so that you could get a little bit more out of that option is always there. But from a retail perspective, I definitely do not suggest expanding hours, because I honestly think that we're going to be moving, and this is a personal opinion, I think we're going to be moving to more restrictive versus less restrictive over the remainder of April. So more so finding ways to do everything you can without having to leave your house or allowing other people into your space is what's most important, what's most advised at this time. So I'm going to drop in here our link for our survey that we do after every workshop. If you don't mind completing that for us, I'll stay on for another few minutes. I don't even know what time it is. Um, I'll stay on till, unless questions start rolling in, I'll stay on until 10:45. That's about 7 minutes from now, to continue to answer any questions anyone might have, any discussion. Um, as you can see on the screen, you can reach us at sbdctec.com. All of the workshops that we've done previously around preparing the the explanation and the preparation of the different loan packages and programs are listed and up on that particular website. So if you need to check out any of those things around the EIDL or the economic injury disaster loan, or the PPP, which is the Paycheck Protection Program, if you have any questions around any of those about the application process, Kim and Mark have recorded videos on our website, sbdctec.com, for all of those. Is now a good time to upgrade website e-commerce options, or should it not be messed with during this crisis? So that's a good question, Mark. From an upgrade perspective, I think it really is based around what the upgrade is going to give you. So some platforms, in light of everything that's going on, has actually decided to offer more on their basic levels. So for instance, Shopify, previously you had to be at their middle level or advanced, I can't remember what it's actually called right now, level to get gift cards. The basic level of Shopify did not offer gift cards. But as soon as all this hit, they started allowing everyone to be able to get gift cards on that level. So I would say from an upgrade standpoint, it will really depend on what more you're getting. Now, if you're working with a platform that that did not do something like that, and you need to upgrade to be able to do gift cards, I absolutely suggest that you do. This is definitely a time I would be sending out different things to customers left and right now. I'm not saying discount all your products, not saying that at all. But what I am saying is this is the time to engage and communicate. Do you have any testimonials? Reach out to some of your clients and ask for testimonials. Ask for reviews. Ask them to drop a review and give them the links. Make it easier um, on on people to help you. So if you want a testimonial, give them the link of where to lead a testimonial, um, and things of that nature. If you know, it's that's big. How do we get consumers to concentrate on shopping local options? Oh, so shopping local, and how do we get them to concentrate on it? So that's a difficult question to answer, because honestly, the answer to that today is the same answer for me that it would be every other day of the week, even outside of this time, because I live under the concept of protect home first. And I think that people are cognizant of wanting to shop closer, wanting to even shop small. But one thing that we have to remember, is one, we have to be visible in order to be supported. So one thing is making sure that we're visible. Another thing is, as the person who might not be that business, sharing things. So what can you share in addition to what you're sharing about your own business? What can you share about one of your fellow businesses that could be supported as well? Because that's going to be a big part of this, is us spreading the word. Because it's kind of like what I was saying to Ron about Facebook, um, or when Ron mentioned that Facebook is very hard to be seen, in my opinion, from just people that you don't know. Somebody needs to know you to see you. Over the weekend, myself, um, I I did a face mask on Friday night. Did a face mask, all that. Skin was looking great, feeling great, all of that. So I shared that experience for the person whose product I bought to be able to have content around that. Because that content is king right now. They need testimonials. They need that. I think that's part of how you help people shop local, but we also have to remember, any and all times, people buy what they want. People buy what they want more than what they need. So how are you going to present your information? How are you going to present your product? How are you going to present your service so that I want it? Because other than that, I mean, we can, for me, that's hard, because other than that, I think that we share and promote shopping local, at least here in the Dayton area. I think that we do a pretty good job of saying and promoting people to shop local. Now, one place that I would say that you can go that really has kind of had their pulse on who's staying open locally is the Downtown Dayton Partnership. I think their page on social media is just Downtown Dayton, but they are really, really pushing out um, what companies are staying open, and really daily trying to share those organizations with the hopes of getting more people um, in house. Collaborate if possible. It's possible. I'm torn on that. I partially agree. I partially don't. So I'm torn on that personally. I think that there's a lot of collaboration possibilities. Um, the problem that comes with collaboration is very few people go into collaboration with both entities in mind. So yes, if you walk up to someone with a collaboration, make sure that you can tell them how they will benefit out of this as well. That's my only downside to the conversation around collaboration, is most people walk into collaborative conversations with what I need, versus I need this and I can give you this. Um, or I can do this, and that's where a lot of things fall apart. But yes, if you find some good opportunities, absolutely. All right, do we have any more questions? Any more questions, comments? No? All right, well, with that being said, I am going to end today's webinar. Thank you all for participating. Stay tuned to the SBDC TEC website